Okay, this is another video from Jeff Head's YouTube channel. In this particular video, I'm showing most of the fighting aircraft of the U.S. Air Force. I don't have the bombers here. There's another video if you want to see that of the B-52, the B-1, excuse me, and the B-2, as well as the B-36 and some others, older ones. But the new ones that are flying right now are the B-52, the B-1, and the B-2. Here we have up front both of the United States stealth, 5th generation stealth fighters, the F-35A over here to the left. And when you look at it, you can tell that I've got it loaded out here with a complete full loadout, including the bomb bays for full stealth and including the wing pylons on either side. You take the wing pylons on either side off and close the doors, and you've got a full stealth mode attack aircraft. What's very interesting about that is that aircraft right there has been set up now to be as expensive as this F-16D, which you can see carries quite a load itself, does not have any bay material, but a large amount of equipment and arms on the wings, which the F-35 carries actually even more of. But what is amazing, of course, is that Lockheed has met its goal and now has this F-35A at a price break just lower than the F-16. And so you're seeing a lot of countries now buying it. Of course, we still have our F-22, which is regarded by most everyone in the world as the most highly capable stealth air superiority fighter in the world. Big story behind that. Let's turn it over. And it, of course, has its capabilities of AMRAAMs and Sidewinders on it, a total capable of 10 missiles. But it also can carry pylons to carry more if they need to, and once they have the air superiority locked down. Now that aircraft was built, and they were going to build 400 or 500 of them to replace this aircraft over here we'll talk about in just a minute. But in 2011 and 12, the Obama administration decided that aircraft was, the F-22, was too good for what the Russians and the Chinese were supposed to be able to produce by 2024 or 2023. They thought it would be 2023 or 4 before the Chinese or the Russians had anything even close to the F-22 that had started coming out and then being considered airworthy, for introduction in 2010 and 11. And so they cut it off at 173 aircraft. And then, of course, the next year in 2012, when the U.S. Secretary of Defense visited China, they rolled out their first J-20 stealth aircraft, and it was an embarrassing moment, but one that many had warned them about. And I just don't think the Chinese are going to stop at 173. Do you guys? Luckily, the F-35 is already out in numbers well over 200 and is now in full bore production. So we will have the F-35A for the Air Force. Probably something close to 3,000 of those. There'll be 300 to 400 F-35Cs for the aircraft carrier, and more than that for the Marines. The Marines will have them flying from ground bases as well as from the LHAs, which are the America class, and the LHDs, which are the WASP class. We're also seeing them now being bought by about everybody and their brother for use from other VTOL carriers like the Japanese Izumo class, the Korean Dokdo class, Of course, you see the Queen Elizabeth class carrying 50, up to 50 each. And the Turks, the Italians, Spain, and potentially Australia and India. And that is a very, very big net gain for those countries, and of course more sales for Lockheed. Now back here we have the F-15C, and this is the current highest tech. The thing about these aircraft is that they are constantly up-armed. You see 8 missiles on this aircraft. It can carry more, but it's got 8 along the body, and then it's got 2 on either side above the air tanks there, just the same way the F-16 carries 2 missiles there up above on that pylon. So these air superiority aircraft are out there in 400 to 600 aircraft, and they will ultimately be replaced by these aircraft, the F-22, and by the F-35. We also have the F-18, excuse me, the F-15 Strike Eagle, the F-15E, whereas over here we have the F-15C and D. But the F-15E is an aircraft that came along later. You can see that it had a conformal tank added to it to increase the range, and it is now an attack aircraft as well as all the capabilities of a air-to-air aircraft as well. They can add air missiles on to any of those places you see the other missiles as well. So we've got 2 capabilities there, and it's a 2-pilot aircraft where you've got a pilot up front, of course, and then the electronics warfare or armament officer in the back. We've still got the A-10 out there, and it will be out there for a long time. It's not supersonic, but as you can tell, it carries just one heck of a lot of ordnance on it. You know, and if you look right there, you'll see it's got 6 Hellfire missiles with all kinds of other bombs, you know, from small 250-pound all the way up to 1,000-pound bombs. And the people on the ground love this aircraft. It's been thought of being let go early, and the Air Force and the people of this country just won't allow Congress to do it because it has such a good ordnance that it protects our soldiers on the ground, and it carries enough fuel that it can be it can stay on station for a long time and protect our soldiers in a huge way against any enemy. Back in the very back you see not the Predator but the Reaper, and this is now the aircraft that's used for unmanned attack. It carries a lot more ordnance than the old Predator. It's got 4 stations, carries more than twice as much ordnance, and it is used very regularly over in these small non-peer wars that we get involved in, whether it's Afghanistan or Syria or Iraq. They can attack from plenty high enough range to avoid the usual type of anti-aircraft fire that these smaller forces have. And we have built plenty of those guys, and they're out there in numbers. And if we come up against a situation where we don't need an A-10 and its staying power and fighting off tanks in large numbers, we'll send a Reaper out and get quite a bit done. So here you have the 4th generation fighter aircraft that we still use, but that really, from an electronic standpoint, have been upgraded to a lot of 5th generation equipment. They just don't have the radar effectiveness that these two aircraft up front have. These aircraft are very, very difficult to see at all when they're in a full state, in a full stealth mode, and going in to do seed jobs, seed missions for the suppression of enemy air defenses, or taking out potential attempts by the enemy to gain any type of air superiority. We'll send these in a stealth mode, take care of the air defenses and the aircraft, and then once that's done, they will carry more missiles to maintain that air superiority. And in the meantime, the F-15Cs, Ds, and Es can go in there, as well as the A-10 back there and the Predator, not having to worry about enemy fighters. And the F-15C and D and F-15E can take care of any fighters, short of the enemy or near peer aircraft that are coming out in the J-20 and the newer aircraft by the Russians. The Russians don't have very many, and it doesn't look like they'll ever have very many of them. So in any case where we thought that they might be up flying either the F-35A here up front or the F-22 Raptor would be sent in to take care of that. And the same goes for any potential fight with J-20 aircraft that the Chinese may have if we were in a position to have to face them. Anywhere else, any other enemy we could handle with the F-15C or D or F-15E, and they, in terms of how well the stealth is on the J-20 and on the PACFA or the or the Russian stealth aircraft, the pictures I've seen show a very potentially hot back end that our radar may well pick up and allow F-15 of any of those types to potentially take it on at radar range, and certainly mix it up with them when there's visual contact. So I wanted to show these aircraft all together. These are 1/72nd scale aircraft, and made by various companies: Monogram, Revell, Fujimi, Hasegawa, and others, Italeri, and they're good models, and they represent the U.S. Air Force fairly well. If you want to see our bombers, I would urge you to take a good look at the aircraft that I have also on another YouTube video that has and shows them. I also have the naval aircraft in another video, entire modern U.S. carrier air wing, as well as an air wing for the LHD and LHAs. And I also have the newer aircraft that are being used for the maritime, not only patrol and potential attack, whether it be against submarines or ships, but also in terms of communication, where the Triton and the P-8 are used to set up a backup communication capability should our should our network via the satellites be knocked out. The U.S. is setting up bases over the world, putting the Tritons way up high at 70,000 or higher feet, and then have them at 8 or more bases around the world so that they can talk to each other and talk to P-8s and E-2 sentries and, E-3 sentries and E-2 Hawkeyes as well as bases and as well as ships, and establish a backup communications network that would allow them to use the precision guided munitions whenever that communications network was in place. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed it. Let other people know. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel, make your comments, and talk about it. I also have the Chinese aircraft, various aircraft. I will be doing one of these on the Russian aircraft as well. And I thank you for watching. And since we're just a couple of days away from Christmas here in 2019, I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. This is Jeff Head once again with the Jeff Head YouTube channel, and this time on U.S. Air Force modern aircraft. Thank you. Good night.